G'day everyone and welcome back to NS2HD. One of the great things about being in the Unknown Worlds Entertainment office is that it's absolutely full of history and full of little items that can pique your interest if you're looking out for them like I am. For example, the ONOS figurine that many of you have noticed in my earlier video, number 117, and little things like that, the concept art which I've shown you in a previous video as well. And one of the other interesting things is this bookcase, and it's full of very interesting books that you wouldn't see in most offices. For example, it's got a book called Code Complete, you can guess what that is, Game Engine Architecture, The Essentials of Interaction Design, so all sorts of things that the Unknown Worlds Entertainment programmers need to reference when they're creating a game engine, as they are. But one of the really interesting things I found in this bookcase, and it was only by accident that I found it, it was buried deep beneath other books, is this book here, which, if you open up to the first page, says Natural Selection 2 Art Compendium. And I've made myself very comfortable here, sitting on this beanbag, which, incidentally, speaking of history, is something that Unknown Worlds Entertainment won when they won 2010 ModDB Most Anticipated Game of the Year, so there's a little bit of history. And I'm going to set this book up now, not on this beanbag because you can't see it. I'm going to go set it up on the table over there and go through it page by page and read what it says to you. Apparently this book was done by Unknown Worlds Entertainment before they went to Valve. So way back in the day when they were talking to Valve about making Natural Selection 2 on the Source engine. So it contains really old stuff, but it's really interesting because it gives you a look at what the original ideas were for Natural Selection 2 as opposed to Natural Selection 1, and with reference to Natural Selection 1. So here we go. This is it, and I've set it up under lights here on this table so I can show you through the whole book, and I'll probably read the words, but if you load up this video in full high definition, you might be able to read the words as I open it up, and it'll probably make it a little bit easier to follow. I've never filmed a book before, so this will be a learning experience for me as well as you. But opening up, there's a great picture of an ONOS. I've seen that picture before. I think it's in the concept art on the website, and it says Natural Selection 2 Art Compendium. And it's not just full of pictures, there are a lot of interesting statements in here about abilities and weapons and buildings. And it opens up with what I guess you'd call is a little bit of a throw to a backstory. With it says the Ariadne arm, and it's a representation of a galaxy, which is obviously not that could be part of the Milky Way, and that could be an arm part of the Milky Way, or whatever you want to imagine it to be. And it says here, two unique sides. Play the elite marine frontiersman by weaponry and find and destroy alien hives. Or play as the vicious alien Kara and choose the wall-running skulk, pudgy gorge, flying lurk, murderous fate, or gigantic ONOS that can devour enemies whole. Cooperation. With the help of your commander, build phase gates, sentry turrets, and siege cannons to assault the enemy. Squad respawning lets you stay in the action. Aliens build upgrade chambers, evolve new abilities, lay eggs, plant traps, all under the watchful eye of the Overmind. Dynamic environments, levels change as you play. Spreading alien infestation deforms hallways, causes space station power failure, halting all lifts. Destroying a catwalk's supports causes it to fall, revealing a new route. Use a flamethrower to clear infestation, weld a bulkhead shut, or smash through a door. Every game is different. Unlimited variations, free scripting tools, and flexible game rules allow you to create your own scenarios. Colonist rescue, alien vs alien, or anything else you can dream up. And those 4 paragraphs already in there, there's a lot of stuff that has actually made it into the full game. I mean, Dynamic Infestation is, at the time of recording this, in prototype phase and will no doubt be implemented soon. Phase gates, another thing that might be coming out soon, and sentry turrets, siege cannons, well, we know that became the arc cannon, so all of that sort of early concept stuff actually did translate into the game. Turning the page is some really interesting concept art where Marines look like they have found skulks inside spherical, I want to call them test tubes, but they're test spheres, so I'll just call them test spheres. Corey has called them pods when he's drawn it, and it says at the bottom, Natural Selection was mankind's first contact with the Kara. Both sides have grown and adapted for the sequel. That's a reference to the fact that Natural Selection 2 is different to Natural Selection 1. Natural Selection 1 had some characteristics that were unique to it and that have not been repeated in Natural Selection 2, such as aliens not having a commander and having their hives spawn in a random place. And this is an important page because Natural Selection 2 is not just a clone of Natural Selection 1 with better graphics, and I suppose you really wouldn't be unless you really wouldn't want it to be that unless you were stuck in the past. This is a new game and it's changing the way Natural Selection is played. Turning the page, 4 pieces of concept art. Some of them I've shown you earlier in my concept art videos. Some of them I've never seen before. And I've seen this tram one. I definitely haven't seen the one on the far right, which looks like a command center that's been overrun by alien infestation. I haven't seen this one either. This looks like it might be a reference to the refinery map or maybe the mineshaft map. The organic nature of the marine technology implies non-duality. Both species are simply animals struggling to survive. And this would be a reference to the fact that I don't believe Unknown Worlds wants the aliens to be the bad guys in this story. Simply a second race that wants to survive in the world. And that's referencing the fact that the game is called Natural Selection, obviously the survival of the fittest. So what Corey is getting at here is the buildings often have organic properties. So this building has almost insect-like properties. It's a very, very large building which you'd expect to weigh several hundred tons, but it has insect-like legs coming out either side, sort of like a grasshopper. Turning the page again, concept art for dynamic infestation. So seeing the 3 levels that Corey envisaged that that infestation would go through, from the opening where the room is fully functional with no infestation at all and all the lights on, all the systems running, to where it starts to grow. System starts to fail, the lights get covered up, some of them go orange, sorry, the lights have gone orange and they look like different lights, so emergency lighting. So a reference to what we see now, the emergency red lighting when you kill a power node. And here we go. This is a computer-generated image of what actually happens. And this is very, very exciting because if you're like me, you've only seen the dynamic infestation video that was released a few years ago, the prototype video where the infestation ran up a wall and onto the ceiling. These are images which look like they were taken in the same map with the same infestation prototype, and they've covered the walls in 3 dimensions, and that's completely new artwork to me, completely new images to me, and you can see here what looks to be a more basic version of the render without the textures on top. So that's very exciting. I've never seen this book before, by the way. I'm going through it and this is my first time seeing it as well. Here is the concept for the female Marine. And here's an interesting concept when this is being written. Character customization helps players distinguish teammates. The Marine helmet is designed for variation within the standard uniform. So maybe one day in Natural Selection 2 we will see uniforms that can be slightly customized to help identify each other. You see the female Marine helmet going through lots of different customization options there. And even this helmet seeming to open up and reveal the head before closing up again and closing to protect the eyes and the head. Natural Selection aims to unite players. A non-exploitative treatment of female characters encourage healthy and inviting atmosphere for all. So this is obviously a game for the 21st century, and it's moving beyond the simplistic idea that all characters in all games will be male, especially in action games. Next page, map layouts, floor plans, and thumbnail concept sketches for NS2 Tharum. Maps emphasize landmark rooms to ease navigation and communication. And I believe I've overheard Unknown Worlds talking about how they want to minimize the use of corridors and maximize the use of large open spaces, which I believe are being called landmark rooms here. And the idea behind that is you spend less time running between strategic areas and more time being in them. So that's a departure from some of the Natural Selection 1 maps, which will contribute to a different style of play in Natural Selection 2. Rough level geometry is used to playtest gameplay before committing to visual details. And this would be, I believe this is concepting for ideas about how to create maps for Natural Selection 2. And I have seen in the office here the Unknown Worlds employees working their way through basic map designs and testing gameplay elements out in those basic map designs. Next page, oh, here we go, weapon concepts. So here it looks like a very early concept of maybe the shotgun. It looks like that could even be, you could even look at that as a combination of the current rifle and the current shotgun. There's design elements from both in this picture. And looks like the flamethrower was originally envisaged as an attachment, but it has now moved to being a completely independent weapon. And there's the grenade launcher, an early concept of the grenade launcher attachment, and that's stayed true to form, although it has ended up on the side of the weapon instead of underneath. Varied weapons encourage players to adopt class-like roles within a squad. So, for example, the flamethrower would end up being a supporter who clears vents and clears infestation, while the shotgun-wielding Marine would be one who kills high-priority, high-expensive alien targets. Textures and props are designed as sets to provide unique and memorable visuals, and I believe this is referencing to the fact that Unknown Worlds wants a completely unique art set for each different map. For example, the Biodome art set will use assets that are not used in Refinery, and vice versa, and etc. for all the NS2 maps. So there should be a completely different visual style for each map. And here it looks like some early renders of props for NS2 maps. I don't think I've actually seen any of these props in any of the maps, so these must be very early renders. And just looking, I guess these would be the kind of things that you'd fill out the basic map space with. So crates, computer screens, ladders, piping, controls, lights. Over the page is this. I think this page is looking at what the what textures look like when they're actually applied to a map. So on the left page here are lots of textures that have not been applied to a map. Well, they are, but they're being looked at individually. And on the right, they're looking at the whole scene of the map. So all the textures actually being used in the map space. And that's it. That's the end of the book. So that has got to be the quintessential natural selection image there that was around in the natural selection 1 days, and obviously being the very scary eye of the skulk. I hope you've enjoyed this video, everyone. Just one of the little things I found lying around the Unknown Worlds office. And please subscribe and look out for future natural selection 2 videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. 2 natural selection 1. So here we go. You missed. Go on, try again. Oh, God. Oh, shit. That was staged. That happened on Google Chat or something. Oh.
No, I just saw it going out. That would have been good to stage, actually. No guns.